Ah, see, now we got it. Granted, it's just a blank screen, but still. Okay. All right, let's get this intro started. I'm not even going to hit record on the fucking Roadcaster, so hey, yay for us.
Hell yeah.
Jesus. So much for the fucking intro. Jesus Christ.
Oh.
All right, let me try that one more time. And this, my friends, is what happens when you do not pay for actual streaming software. You know what? Fuck it. Here, let me just do this. Hey, what's shaking, everybody? Welcome to another episode of We Talkin' Podcast. I'm Dave, that's Jake Hamill, and we're just talking shit about the internet, talking about random shit, talking about stuff that's personal, just talking. Because Jake used to be a comic out here in Denver, Colorado, where I currently live, and we would just shoot the shit all the time, and this is one of the ways that we kind of keep saying, and wanted to let you guys in on that. And obviously, since the last podcast we did really did not take off, it actually purposely held numbers down because it sucks so bad. And but we're just moving along. We're just fucking we adjusted, we learned. Somebody said, "Hey, do better," and we did. So whatever, just take it for what it is. But welcome back to the show, man. It's been a couple of weeks, my brother.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting. Oh, but it's starting to get hot here. Just want to give you a heads up and fill you in about your old hometown.
Oh shit, I'm gonna be there next week, by the way.
Yeah. When?
I'm gonna arrive on Wednesday and I'm leaving on Sunday. My niece Erin is graduating high school, so I'm gonna stay with my mom, or actually with my sister, and my mom is gonna be there too. So when's the next time I'm gonna have a chance to freaking stay under the same roof with my mom and sister for 2 days and then can leave? It's great.
Well, no, that's actually crazy coincidence because I took this week coming up. I took it off from work.
Really? Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm wide open.
Oh, sweet. So we got to do something. And Jenny's coming in on Friday night.
Oh, nice. We should all hang out Friday night.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I would friggin' love to. I think it's going to be great because there's a lot of, obviously I want to see it. The problem is I've got so many friends and family, you included in that, obviously, that there's just too many people to see in a period of time. So, it's kind of like, all right, hey, how's it going? I got to go,
Yeah, no. Also, by the way, I realized, I know where I am on the depth chart, if you catch my drift. So, if you're like, I could go see my mom or I could go hang out with Jake, I'm not going to be mad if you're like, I'm going to hang out with my mom.
No, fair enough.
It'd be awesome to see you, but, just let me know. Just if you got a free couple hours or whatever, let me know.
Oh, no,
I'm wide open, man. I got no life. Let's fucking go.
Oh, I'm sure Jenny's got things that people like friends of hers that she really wants to see and stuff. So, yeah, it should be really interesting. Either way, I'm glad to do it. But, it's definitely, to say things have been kind of crazy has been interesting, to say the least. Yeah. I did a mic up in Loveland. I saw Jeff Albright again.
Yeah.
And Jeff is an interesting dude. I think he inherently is a pretty good dude. But I think there's a thing where comics be kind of getting our own way. And it's kind of interesting because, I was just talking to him and stuff, and he's still a good guy. He's still putting on shows and everything, and says he's going to put me on some shows and everything. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I'd asked him, hey, so he's still doing Broadcast Geeks? He's like, I was a founding member and all this other stuff, but apparently there was some drama that was going on there, and some other stuff with some other folks and stuff. Not anything like too salacious. Nothing like, oh, I found out one of my friends was a rapist. It wasn't that. It's nothing like that. It's just You get four guys who are drinking and online during a lockdown under a lot of stress and stuff, fucking arguing about shit, and eventually people are going to get pissed off at each other. So I think that's kind of what happened. But either way, it was cool to see him.
Oh wait, that I've never been through that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny shit. I thought so. Um, I discovered like what was it? I did a mic up there, and there was this one of the comics up there. I was talking about restaurant stuff and working in the back of house, and there's a part of this joke where I found a different way to set it up because I'm going to say something really really freaking horrible, and then I'm like, hey, has anybody here worked at the back of house before? And most
Did we
folks are
freeze?
like, no, I don't. I've never worked in a kitchen. I'm like, oh, well, let me know that. I'll tell you right now, the kitchen are the nicest people out of the whole restaurant. We will always take your feelings into account. I don't care how many tickets I got. I will stop the whole fucking restaurant because I want to hear your thoughts. That's exactly the kind of love and affection that you're going to get in a kitchen. And which obviously I'm
I
full
think
of
we
shit.
froze.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, your picture froze. I know that.
You froze.
Oh, I can still hear you. There you go. You're back. You're good. You hear me okay? Oh, what do you know? We lost Hamill. Hold on a second, guys. Let's try to get him back. Call ended. Yeah, he could say that again. All right. Okay, you called me back then, I take it, right?
Yeah, no, all of a sudden it just froze on me. So
Oh, fair
can you
enough.
see? Okay.
I can't see you, but I could hear you just fine.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if your camera's on or not. It's not the end of the world if it's not, so don't worry about it. Oh, now you're good.
There it is.
There you go.
There it is. Good enough. Sorry
Okay.
about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. So either way, some of the comics up there who also worked in restaurants and stuff, they were telling me about the show called The Bear on Hulu.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, have you seen it?
Yes. Yeah, I know. I've seen previews for it. It's got the guy. It's got the kid from Shameless in it.
Mm.
You know, and which Shameless. If you grew up poor white trash in a big family, that show is the shit.
Yeah.
It is the best.
Mm.
You know. Yeah, he plays like an executive chef who's trying to make it like in a rough part of Chicago or something like that.
Yeah,
But it's like
exactly.
one of those new timey chef guys. He's like, I'm gonna put aioli on French fries in the hood. You know, that's what he's doing.
Right.
So.
I would also put, and by the way, Jenny says hi. She's in the chat room right now on YouTube. So, what's up, sweetie? This show has been you know how like World War II veterans were freaking out when they saw Saving Private Ryan the first 10 minutes of that movie?
Yeah.
That's what it's fucking like watching this show because this guy is trying to, at least in the first couple of episodes, I haven't got through the whole season. I don't know if I want to, even though it's really good. I'm not saying it sucks, but he's trying to get this like sandwich shop in Chicago, which has been losing money for fucking years. Apparently, like the premise is that his older brother, who was the original owner of the sandwich place, killed himself and gave him the restaurant. And he's trying to get this thing, like he could sell it. He can just kind of go on his way. He could be working at these nice restaurants, but he wants to, for reasons that are his own, he wants to make this place work. And like the whole thing starts off with like he's there early in the morning, meat delivery comes in, and he's like, all right, 25 pounds. He's like, no, I ordered 250. He's like, talk to the credit department. So they only give him 25 pounds of beef, and he needs 250. So he's freaking flipping out. And apparently he has like these like vintage denim shirts or whatever, jackets that he's trying to pawn off on people so that way he can get enough money just so that way he can buy meat so he could stay in business for the next couple of days. And so like none of the other cooks, they don't want to freaking do anything that he says because they've been there forever. And all this stuff is like super triggering for me. And I'm like, God damn it, man. Like, and he's trying to show him a better way to cook and a different way to cook. And then he hires this sous chef who's like straight out of culinary school, who's really, really smart, but she doesn't really work in a restaurant. And then he's got like his cousin who is like grew up in the restaurant industry and doesn't give a fuck about any of this the highfalutin, chef cuisine stuff like that. And yeah, they're just constantly screaming at each other. They're just always in the weeds and stuff. And it's just like, it's really, 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 it's fucking nuts. Like at one point, there's this one scene where the cousin, who's working the counter, he's calling back orders into the kitchen, but he's not using the new computer system or the that they put in. And so the chef keeps coming out, or the sous chef is like, "You need to put it through, otherwise I'm not making it." He's like, "What the fuck's your problem? 4 sausage, 2 dogs. Get back there, fucking make it." And so the main dude is like, Carmine is his name, is like trying to freaking balance things between both of them and stuff, and try to make it a point. Like the sous chef is like, "Well, this isn't the way things are going to work," and I'm like, "You don't like, god damn it." You don't have the experience. I don't care how great your ideas are. They're really great ideas. They're super good, but it's like, yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that they just weren't prepared for because he's introducing a lot of these new things. Because I don't know, it was triggering to me because in a previous podcast I did with my old buddy Thor, I started up the Food Biz podcast again, and we were able to talk about Bennett's Barbecue, the place that both of us had worked for a bit. That the guys had been there for 20 years, thought that they were doing a good job smoking brisket.
Yeah,
and 20 years ago, they probably were. But they've got like two things that become super big hobbies for like mostly men, I would say, in the past 10 years that they would actually start businesses from. One of them is craft brewing beer. Because those are basically a bunch of chemistry nerds that have just wanted to make the perfect fucking IPA that has the most amount of hops in it humanly possible that's still a liquid, at least the beer's up in Boulder anyways. And then the other one is smoking meat. Guys are really, really, really into smoking meat, and they take it super fucking seriously. So there's all these other restaurants that started coming out that ended up having, by the way, thanks for the comment, Jenny, that have put way more effort, love, and care and into their smoked brisket, that people just stopped wanting to come to Bennett's. And these guys didn't understand that. They thought that they've been doing the same job that they have been since 1985, and there's no reason to change. And they didn't understand that the only reason that place had stayed in business is because catering had been basically supplementing all the losses through on the restaurant side. And when the pandemic hit, that wiped out catering because there was no people at work. Why are you going to have work events? You know what I mean? Nobody wanted to have any gatherings of more than 5 people in their house or some shit. So all that catering business just fucking evaporated. And these guys, they're just like, "Oh, why do we have to change now?" And I'm like, "Because you're not going to have a job." And lo and behold, after I left, the catering thing kind of didn't go so well, and then they ended up closing like 2 months later. So, but yeah, watching that show, The Bear, I'm just getting fucking super frustrated. Like, he starts having work anxiety dreams where he's like screaming out for somebody to pick up the food, and like his line is completely full of all these plates, everything's getting cold, and he's just like, hands, and yeah. But either way, it's an interesting show if you guys like PTSD. It's freaking awesome, so check it out.
Especially like work PTSD, because I dated, you know who I'm talking about, but I dated this girl that I used to work with at Sexy Pizza, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not bringing up any of those stories. It's just there was one night she slept in my house, right? Because we had
Yeah.
I wanted to say it like Grandpa Simpson. Remember that part in The Simpsons where he's like, "What?" No, no, she slept over my house, like slept in my bed with me, and she's like, "I don't know if I could do that again." And I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, what's that all about?" She goes, "No, it's not you. It's just that when you sleep, you thrash around and you talk about work in your sleep." And I don't blame her. I'm like, that makes sense. I would hate sleeping next to that. You fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I honestly don't blame her on that. But I didn't realize I was doing it, and I didn't realize how much of a toll that job was taking on me at the time. I was so stressed out. I was so stressed out with that job, and yeah, it affected how I slept. And like, yeah, it made me a little self-conscious, but at least someone told me. You know,
like you had no idea. I remember they
Like,
said when I first got out of surgery, after my first neck surgery, because I missed work to go to the hospital, and the first words out of my mouth was like, "Tell those fuckers to brush the goddamn oven, like pull the pizzas out, they're burning the shit out of everything." They're like, "You all right?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fun stuff.
But yeah, it's weird how those restaurant gigs are stressful as fuck.
Yeah.
I've had so many of them. Not as many as you, but like I know what that world at least kind of like. You're born in it. I was just simply raised in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I dabble in it. But like, yeah, my first job was restaurant work. All living in New York. That's all I ever did.
Yeah.
Not city. Utica, New York is what I meant.
Right.
And then like I got my first non-restaurant job when I was like 20. You know, I've been working since I was 16. I was 14. You know, and so restaurant work was always one of those things that I fell back on whenever shit went south. Because for some reason, I always find a restaurant. Restaurants always will be around, even if like we're in like the end of time. There's gonna be a restaurant or two that's gonna be open.
Right. There's somebody's gonna not want to cook. Yeah.
But it is a stressful ass job. It is a stressful fucking job though, man. It can be.
Yeah. It can be rewarding, but it's not what people think it is.
Oh.
That's the part. I guess that's the one. I guess the reason I originally didn't want to watch that show is like I don't want to watch another show that glorifies the food industry into something that it isn't. Because there's so many of these culinary grads that they think that it's going to be like working in a lab and making this amazing food. I'm like, dude, it's about making the same dish consistently over and over again without freaking spending more than you're making. You know what I mean? So like, there's this one flashback he has to one of the kitchens that he learned in, like a really really high end kitchen, and the head chef is played by Joel McHale, you know, from Community, and it's really interesting because he plays like the worst kind of asshole chef that you would never want to fucking work. And so like Carmine, the lead, he's like, you know, plating dishes and stuff and like doing these like fucking super intricate like, you know, $500 plate entrees and stuff. And one of the chefs, Seuss, keeps coming back, and she's like, "What about now?" And he's looking at it, and he's like, "The sauce is broken. It's still broken. It's, you know, you got to try to fix it. And so she keeps trying, and she fails. And then you see Joel McHale walks behind the line, and he just looks at the sauce, and he goes, "Why?" Well, I'm sorry, I broke the sauce. Why? Well, because the heat was up too high. Why? Because I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, "Get out." And just fucking leaves, and he just goes up to him. He's like, "Why do you like enjoying? Why do you enjoy working with fucking morons? Is that your problem? You like working with fucking morons because you're a fucking cool guy? Is that it? Huh? With all the tattoos, taking your smoke breaks and stuff, that makes you fucking cool? You're fucking horrible at this. You're horrible at this. Say yes, chef. Yes, chef." And he's like, "Say it again. Yes, chef. Good. You fucking listening? You shouldn't do this. You should quit. You're bad at this. You're too fucking slow. Say hands. Hands." And he's just like riding this dude like super fucking cruel. And I'm like, why am I watching this, man? Like it is, but it's good to at least it's good for a show that's actually kind of at least as a I don't know how the rest of the season and stuff goes, but it's I don't know. It shows the different side of the food service industry. That's one of my main gripes about the Food Network is that I mean I think it's great that they show the joy and art of cooking, but the restaurant industry is something completely different, you know. So
yeah.
It's like the art of anything versus the industry of it. There's always going to be a clash with it. But so what was it? There's other thing that I wanted to talk about when I heard about it, and oh yeah, because I thought you would really enjoy it. Did you see the the Miller Lite Women's Day video that they had made a couple of months ago? They made this a couple of months ago, and I think everybody just completely dismissed it and nobody gave a shit. But like people are trying to keep that Bud Light rage going, and now they need something new to get pissed off at about. And they see this like women were the original brew makers and stuff in Macedonia and ancient Egypt, and I'm like, okay, where, huh? Like,
first of all, that's not, we don't even know if that's accurate. So give me a fucking break. I mean, I don't know, but and also like it makes me mad. Like it annoys the fuck out of me because it's just another thing that we've politicized for no fucking reason.
Right.
Like I just want to have a fucking beer. I just want to fucking. Can I just have a beer and not have to fucking worry about this shit in every aspect of my fucking life? it's like, oh, like I drink like this shit, right? The body armor.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, like what happens if like some transgendered person fucking drinks this shit now, you know, or some hillbilly asshole who fucking like voted for Trump drinks this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm fucking part of that. I'm a thirsty fucking guy.
Yeah.
The quote Mitch Hedberg, can I have some of that Gatorade or does that lightning bolt me no? Like,
Yeah. Again, you could just be a thirsty dude.
Like, yeah, and also like here's the funny thing, dude. Bud Light sucks, and it's always sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Bud Light is one of those beers that you bring into my house. I'm never gonna drink it.
Yeah.
I'm never going to drink it. I fucking hate it. It tastes like shit, and it gives me like the worst bubble guts I've ever fucking had in my life.
Mm.
I mean, you know, Coors Light, I drink that shit. If I want to get wasted, like I'm not here to taste this shit. I just want to get wasted.
Yeah.
Coors Light's where it's at. Pabst is like you know, whatever, but a close second. But man, no, I'm just for them. And it's both sides are guilty of this shit, and I hate it.
Yeah.
It's like I hate both of you. Shut the fuck up. Because I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Like some right-wing dickhead was going to be like, these liberal queers are taking away your beer. Well, I got some beers for you, and it's like, you know, Patriot Front Brew or some shit. And I'm like, come on, man. I just want to drink a fucking beer. Leave me the fuck alone. Like, why? Don't stop dragging me into this shit.
What I think would be really funny if I had the time and inclination to actually do this, I would make a fake commercial talking about how the original White Claw recipe was created by men, and that only men should be drinking. Try to take it away from all the friggin' drunk girls on a Friday night. Like, that's our drink. You're not supposed to be drinking, you know, whatever. It's friggin' stupid, man. I mean, whatever. Besides, if you really want to get wasted, I really can't recommend any beer more than Colt 45. A nice big 40 of it, of OE. It really doesn't matter what beer you're drinking. If it's a 40, you're going to get fucked up halfway through that thing. Don't, you know.
That kind of beer you're only drinking because you want to get fucked up.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
all it is. Yeah. You're not holding it in a shifter and doing this shit and smelling the notes. You know what I mean? Oh, what year was this bundled in? Like, it's, you know, fucking Colt 45.
Yeah, this OE has kind of a nutty flavor to it. Yeah, it's because I wiped my nuts on it. That's why. It's like, yeah. Who knew?
What was it? Oh, yeah, no, but brands have been doing this for a while, though. Everyone thinks this is brand new. It's really not.
Yeah.
Because, like, so Marlboro did this shit in the 40s? Yeah, in the 40s. 40s or early 50s. Mm. Way back in the day, if you were smoking a Marlboro Red, like in 1920, they'd be like, what are you, fucking gay? Like, because only women smoked them. Like, women, like, it was like a chic thing for a woman to, you know, fucking bust out a Marlboro Red.
Okay.
And then Marlboro came out with, like, this fucking commercial where this guy's fixing his car, and his hands are all greasy, you know, and he's doing manly shit, and they're like, isn't it time for a Marlboro? And he just lights a Marlboro, and like that, all of a sudden it was like the manliest shit to like rip a fucking Marb Red, you know. But that's what they did with the beer, though. It's like now they're trying to go the other way with it, where manliness, and then like, and I'll give you a clue on how weird this has gotten with Bud Light, how it won't go away for some weird reason.
Yeah,
that's what shocks me. How long this has been going on. Pat McAfee, have you heard of him?
I've heard of him. Yeah, I think so.
He's a sports guy. He does like a sports thing every week or every weekday. He does a sports show, right? They were trying since he started the show. He always wanted a Bud Light sponsorship, right? He always wanted it because he loved Bud Light. He's one of those meathead jock guys that loves Bud Light. He gets the sponsorship, makes a video about it and everything. Like it's like the biggest thing that happened to the show since the invention of the fucking microphone.
Right.
Like a month later, this shit happens, dude. And on his desk on the show, it's always cluttered with shit, right? It's always got stuff on it from, you know, a bobblehead or this or that. He used to have a big old Bud Light can right on his fucking desk.
Right.
The moment that shit started popping off, dude, that can went behind a bunch of his little trinkets on his desk, and you could barely see it. And he doesn't bring it up. So something's going on with Bud Light because their stock is crashing. Like, I don't know what it is, but like people are getting And everyone thinks it's like your crazy weird uncle who's like a super right winger who thinks that John F. Kennedy Jr. is gonna fucking come back from the dead and say Trump's the president.
Yeah.
Like everyone thinks it's that group of people. That's like maybe 10%. The rest of the people are just, we're fucking exhausted with this shit and we're done. We don't give a fuck anymore. Just shut the fuck up and leave us the fuck alone.
Well, it's going to get ramped up even more, I think, with this next coming year because it's an election year. Like, if you think we're divisive now, wait about 6-7 more months. You're going to be like, man, do you remember when we only just hated each other and we weren't actually throwing rocks at each other in the street? Oh, them's were the days, you know. It's fucking nuts. And I think I had an idea because I was actually, you know what? I'll go into this right now. There was this thing that I wrote last night or this morning because I couldn't sleep. And it was about like Hollywood videos, and this kind of ties into a little bit what we were talking about. Let me freaking. Where the fuck is it? Yesterday, nope. Huh? Oh, you know why? Because it's not on the notes. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. I was thinking about. What is it that's been kind of fucked a little bit with when it comes to like movies and stuff lately, and it really came to me. I just like I have Hulu Plus, not bragging, but I finally they put up season 6 of Rick and Morty.
Oh
yeah, and so all right, and I'll just try to skim all this because I don't want to read all the stuff to you guys, but. Basically, I finished binging season 6 of Rick and Morty, and like as the series as a whole, it was better than season 5, I thought, but I honestly feel like the season's done. The whole series is done, like it's over.
Yeah.
They're gonna make another series or two and try to bleed as much as they can, but I really don't give a shit anymore. And because in the way I was thinking about it, I'm like, there's just something that's missing in the story. It's like the characters were morphed, but. Something other than by something other than than a character arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like if somebody starts off being like selfish, but then they become unselfish, there's a story arc in there. But if there's no story arc and suddenly they just change, you feel like there's a kind of weird deception that's going on. Like if like they use an established character that was built on trust via the story, and now it's being used to tell a different type of story or message that the audience didn't sign on for. Like a good example is if there was a new story from the Catholic Church about Jesus Christ, but he's talking about the benefits of the military-industrial complex and how we really need to go along with it, you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense. Like, oh, no, this is Jesus now. It's canon. All right? Like, it's okay. Like, the people who own the story of Jesus, i.e. us, the Catholic Church, we put this in there and whatever we say goes. So you have to go along with it. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I'm thoroughly confused that like, no, you're right though. But like, I hate when people do it because it's like, why are you? Because it's so you could see them shoehorning shit, and you're like, why?
Well,
and they're like, no, we're not.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And the example that I put in there, and like I might be reading too far into it, and this is actually probably going to turn into a bit for me at some point, but I always felt that Rick is basically a Gen Xer who hates everything and has no interest in the modern world, like most Gen Xers, and his family represented the new world, which Rick constantly is mocking. But like over the past few seasons, it seems like Rick is forced to accept how the world works and how his views are increasingly invalid. Like, there's room for great storytelling in there, but it seems to be that the critique, which is what brought so much attention to his character, that how much he hated everything, and no matter what any of his family said, oh, that's stupid, this is the reason why you really feel that way, or being nice is something that ugly people do to hedge their bets. That's why nice, pretty people don't have to be nice, and so shit like that. But now it seems like that kind of that criticism that he used to have is kind of morphed into a defensive trait used to avoid any personal growth of his. And that switch seemed to happen around season 4, and that's when it seemed to me like the whole series kind of lost its soul. So there was this guy that I know who's been on the Disjointed podcast a while back, Barry McLean Jr., who's like a comic book artist. And one of the things that I really respect what he does is that he sets a time that he's going to work all day, which is usually long hours, and then like he'll play a video game at night and post the picture of it, and like, oh, this is what I'm playing this evening. That's his fun time. That's his reward for working all day. And he put up a little thing of Gotham Knights, which is the new. I won't even call it a Batman game because Batman dies at the very beginning of it, and it's about how like Batgirl, the Red Hood, Nightwing, and Robin have to take over, protecting Gotham City. And I remember I wrote this little quip in there in one of the comments, but I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like what all modern storytelling is right now. It's like, hey, let's make a Bat game, but without Batman in it. Or, you know what, let's make some more Star Wars movies. Are we going to have Luke Skywalker? Yeah, but not really. He's not going to be that important. We're just basically going to do Star Wars without Luke Skywalker. Like, oh, wait, I got an idea. Let's make a He-Man cartoon, but wait for it. We don't have He-Man in it. It's going to be fucking awesome. And that's not everything, but that's kind of like, and I go on like, maybe it's just because I'm a Gen X guy myself, and like many of us, like, our morality has basically been taught to us by a combination of the leftover of whatever religion we grew up with and Saturday morning cartoons, right? That's basically the history of a lot of our morality, and I think that's why a lot of us, well, especially if guys online that are complaining about this, have a negative reaction to characters they grew up with being used just to milk as much money as possible through movies and merchandise, which is ironic because that's exactly what they did to us as a kid. So I don't know if it's kind of like it's almost like people are pissed off. How do I put? Hold on one second. This is my friggin' dog, Freya. Fucking puppies. What are you gonna do? It's almost like you're a kid at the community pool and you're pissed off because the pedophile isn't paying any attention to you. That's kind of what it's like feeling like. As a Gen Xer now, we're like, hey, wait a second, asshole. You like freaking just completely manipulated me when I was a child just to get my parents' money. And now that I make way more money than my parents do, you don't want to fucking cater to me at all. Now you want to cater to kids. Is that it? I'm the one who fucking pays the bill. You sell me the Megatron, all right? You sell me Optimus Prime. You sell me the fucking X-Wing, all right? Like, I don't give it's my job to to show my kids what's cool and what's not you. And it's kind of like it's a weird, bizarre thing. I always thought that was going on with that. But I think a lot of that is also like the industry. That's a lot of money they put into movies. Like it's hundreds of millions of dollars. So they're going to want to use a an established intellectual property like Star Wars or anything like that, right? Or Marvel.
Yeah.
The problem is that I think they're trying to modernize everything so much that they're losing the original base, and that original base is what made that property special in the first place. You know, and I understand the studios being kind of cautious because they don't want to take a chance on something that might not necessarily might not work. But I don't know. It's I've seen it happening more, not just in like the entertainment industry, but like the Bud Light promotional controversy, right? Yeah. Same thing is like we want to modernize the view of, we want to get away from the frat boy. I think that's what hurt them more than the Dylan Mulvaney stuff, more than anything. Is that one VP or whatever the promotions department saying we're trying to get away from that frat boy mentality of Bud Light, open it up to markets. Now, opening up to a new market, like they've been having the rainbow flag on Bud Light forever during Pride Month, ever since they realized they could make money off of gays. And they
you know that, I mean, how many shows have we done in Colorado where in that bar there's a fucking Bud Light neon sign with rainbows?
Yeah, almost all of them. Yeah,
load of them.
Yeah, yeah, nobody did. I think it was I don't know. It was, there's that whole Dylan Mulvaney thing is like whatever. I don't think it's I don't fault a company trying to open up a new market. But I don't know, for somehow it turned into them shitting on their old frickin' market base and expecting like Disney's been making the same mistake when it comes to the Marvel movies. And my critiques of the Disney not that I don't have anything of them wanting to make female-centric storylines. My problem with Disney is that there seems to be one type of female character that they write. Like, there's not a lot of depth to the female characters in Disney. Like, all the teenagers, all the girls are basically the same teenager. Let me be really
Yeah.
snarky and shitty towards everybody and just be a spoiled pain in the ass who doesn't take responsibility for anything that they say. And let's hope everybody gets around. I think it's like they took the princess thing just a little too far. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh
so,
yeah.
so what they're trying to do, I mean, Disney, their main market, I mean, has always been kids, more specifically, more so young girls than boys. You know, not that they don't market to young boys as well, you know, but the thing is that there's not a lot of boys that want to play like G.I. Joe. They don't want to play Disney princes. Girls, however, they tend to, they, for the most part, you know, they really, really sell the shit out of the Disney princess characters from all these different movies, you know. So, in my opinion, what they were trying to do is like, all right, how do we market all these intellectual properties to young girls? I'm like, it's sci-fi. Generally speaking, not that there's not girls that are interested in sci-fi, but it's been predominantly mostly a boy thing, you know. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and that's not to say they can't have female-centric stories in there, but it's like I said, I think their execution of it is shitty. But um, it's like they've had the chance to like these young. I don't know if it's young people or not. I don't even know. I'm talking out of my ass here, but it's like they're taking this chance on established properties with this new philosophy, and it's been failing a lot. So I don't know. At one point, they're just going to realize that, like, yeah, we're not going to give a shit about all these things that we said that we gave a shit about. We're just going to go back and make stuff that people enjoy. And sorry, you know, go ahead and protest online, whatever. You know, they'll figure out how to get through it. But yeah, it's. I saw that with the marketing campaigns. I've seen that with some of as far as box office numbers from like movies that are coming out, and I think a lot of folks are just kind of like, wait a minute, dude. uh, I think I'm gonna have to protest on this or just say something's fucked up. I don't know, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, either way,
uh,
that was my rant there. Um,
yeah.
you know what? I'm gonna have to take just a quick little break here because we just delivered some groceries, or some groceries
Oh,
got delivered, so I need to get those out of the hallway. So give me just a
we're,
second. I'm gonna try to put it on the intro thing here, and I'll have to edit this shit out later. But be back
okay.
in just a few moments, guys.
All right. Smoke break time.
Exactly.
All right.
Let's go back here. Go back
We're
into
back.
see. Yeah. Okay, now we're back.
Okay. So, well, there's something I actually want to talk about.
Sure.
Yeah. So I got Twitter. That's what it was. I finally got Twitter.
Okay.
I know it's like 14 years too late, but I got I have Twitter now. And it's not just because Elon bought it. It wasn't anything like that. I use Twitter occasionally, but I never had an actual handle.
Okay.
You know, where now I do. I have no followers, but I got it. But the one thing the reason why I did it is that I am I've turned into a pretty big Tucker Carlson fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I still can't get over those years when he wore that bow tie, man. That still just bugged the shit out of me.
Absolutely. No, that Tucker sucks ass. And he'll probably be the first one who tells you that. Right? And I've seen podcast interviews with him and all that shit like that, right? Where he explains what's going on and like why he is the way he is now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And he had personal growth. Like he kind of like if you saw those leaks of him, he doesn't look like an asshole at all. He looks like the kind of guy you would love to work for because he seems like a decent guy, you know, and all that stuff, you know. But he was talking about wild shit, and they had to stop him. They had to stop him. Like CIA killed Kennedy. Like he's saying all this wild shit out loud. They're like, he's got to go. So like I appreciated him for that, but like the way people talk about him, it bugged me because it's like you guys don't watch this shit, do you? Like I mean, I get it. Like he can be just as full of shit as a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But at least honest about kind of who he is. Like everyone's like, oh, he's a rich kid who fucking grew up in it. And he has a book out called Ship of Fools, where he basically starts it out by admitting, like, yeah, I'm a Trustafarian. Like my family's the heir to the Hormel chili company, like all that shit. And he goes, yeah, I grew up privileged, and I know that. I'm not here to say I'm not, you know, but I also was able to see behind the curtain, you know, and see what's going on. And it's bothered me. And I think he's one of those dudes who like, it's like when a cop who's like really all about the police force, right? And he is a little crooked too. And then all of a sudden he realizes like, oh, this is fucking all bullshit. I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
We're the bad guys. And he has like a come to Jesus moment where he just realizes like, oh, this is all wrong. We're fucking doing this all wrong. And, you know, and he's kind of like, he reminds me of the cop from V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
That's what he reminds me of.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how I see him now. Like, Tucker Carlson back when he was the fucking, you know, oh yeah, and also like another reason too is that he's one of the few in media who thought he's actually the only one who thought the Iraq War was a great idea at the time, right? He went over there, he did some stories, all that stuff like that, and later on he realized, oh, this was dumb, and it was terrible, and we should never do anything like this again.
Right.
And he's one of the few who stuck to that. But we tried to go to war in like Libya. He was like, this is not good. Yeah. When he basically stopped Trump from invading Syria because they were trying to do that shit too. Like he's been very good on the war stuff. And that's because I think he honestly is the kind of guy who realized he was wrong. He admits that he was wrong about that. But he doesn't continue to make the mistake. You know? But it sucks because I have to be almost closeted about it, how much I like this guy. You know, that sucks. That kind of sucks. It kind of bothers me.
Yeah.
Because if I bring anything that's a great point, they immediately think like you're a right-wing bigot. And I'm like, I'm not, though. I don't really give any fuck about that kind of shit. But like, I like the fact that he's like, I like anybody who tells the people who think they're too cool for the room to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I like him.
You know, it's kind of
Or
weird.
like,
Like, I'm not a fan of that dude, but at the same time,
yeah,
like when he got fired from CNN, there was a bunch of stories. Like Crystal and Sagar covered it a lot, and so did Russell Brand
yeah,
and Tim Pool. And those, I mean, I watched some of those things. Tim Pool, I can only take in small doses, but like Crystal and Sagar, I'll watch their videos all the way through. And apparently, it's speculated that that Dominion lawsuit, part of uh, the the terms of settling on the whole thing or whatever was that they would fire Tucker Carlson. But there's all these other things, like the fact that they started like releasing like text messages and said there's a lawsuit and this, you know, of a hostile work environment and from somebody who never actually worked directly with them. And I'm like, this sounds like a big fucking hatchet job to me. And I don't even like this dude, but it's like, this sounds like, this all smells like bullshit. And I'm like, all right, best of luck to him. So the fact that he's going to do his new show on Twitter, which is interesting because that's not necessarily a streaming platform, but maybe that's like a
yeah,
workaround from his contract or the non-compete clause. But yeah, I was like, well, that dude's just going to go to the internet and become even bigger. You know, it's like they stroke him
yeah,
down. He's going to grow up to be more powerful than like the status quo of the way politics are. And I think it's just, I think if it was the other way around, if Republicans were in office, they'd be making the same fucking mistakes that the DNC is making now. You know, choosing not to have debates, making up of things like, well, he doesn't really need to have a debate with anybody. He's just, you know, and I'm like, well, I'm not talking about in the case of like popularity. I'm talking about like, I don't know, democracy. We need to have these debates. And I think corporate media is going to fuck up big time on that. And I think this is what I honestly hope. I'm hoping that shows like Crystal and Sagar, who already have like millions of followers, ideally, they would probably try to get Rogan involved in this, even though he doesn't like getting involved in politics. But he's got like 30 million followers that will fucking watch all of the debates. I'm like, yeah, have these debates online. Just have it. Like I saw this one comment that says, have it with was it the Miriam or there's two big
yeah.
candidates right now.
Yeah, it's RFK Jr.
Yeah,
and I almost said Miriam Moreno, the
yeah.
comic from Denver.
Yeah, she's running. She's fucking fierce, dude. She's like super against
Yeah,
the war. Yeah, no.
it's Williamson, Marion Williamson.
Yeah, so they're like, have them
Yeah,
and on the stage, have both of them on both sides of the stage and have an empty podium in the middle just to remind everybody that fucking Biden didn't show up. And
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, that would probably go a long way. And I think this is the fuck up that kind of like in the same way like back in the early 90s when Ross Perot kind of like fucked up everything about the way the politics was running and they had to change the rules to make sure that never happened again. I think that's what's going to kind of happen again with a lot of the stuff they're going to fuck up and like, oh, we got to change the rules again because now, you know, you can't have debates unless it's sanctioned by the DNC. And they're like, no, that actually we have the right to assemble. So
yeah.
we can do whatever the fuck we want. And yeah, we're gonna talk about this shit. And if you guys don't want to be a part of that, you don't have to be, I guess. But you know, it's fucking 60 million people are gonna be watching. So I think there's
Yeah,
gonna be
what's their
another case where people. It's kind of like when Trump got elected. A lot of people weren't necessarily voting for Trump; they were voting against the status quo. In the same way that the last election, there's a lot of people weren't necessarily, I believe, they weren't necessarily voting for Biden; they were voting against Trump. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because it's like, oh man, we got what we wanted. No, wait a second, we don't want that. We don't want that again. Oh, so it's
so
what are you gonna do with this? Well, all this shit.
I had a funny thought, right? Because living here in Arizona, the whole border thing's an issue.
Oh yeah, big time, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's but I saw an article. I think it was like about a month or two ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it made me think that there's sometimes Trump says stuff, and you're like, that's preposterous. That will never happen.
Mm-hmm.
You wait about a year or two, and you're like, oh my god, this is gonna fucking happen.
Yeah.
Remember when he said that? Remember when he said that we're gonna have that wall built, and Mexico's gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
See, I saw an article like it was like an NBC thing. It was like a whole fucking thing on their channel where I guess a bunch of like one of those people who can work from their computer and just kind of work wherever.
Yeah.
You know, like not stay-at-home workers, but like what they call them something. But
Telecommuter?
yeah, well, it's like when you can like work for a corporation through your computer at your house or wherever the fuck you are, you can work.
Yeah, my cousin does that.
Yeah. So a lot of like Californians and shit that they're moving to Mexico City. So many like white gringo fucking, you know, Jessicas and Nathans are fucking moving into Mexico City that I wonder if it's gonna get to the point where like you're gonna have some girl being like to some guy in like Mexico being like, yeah, like you didn't like make my coffee right. It was like supposed to be like ice with no foam, and there's foam, and I don't want foam. How many of those people have to live there before Mexico's like, you know what, fuck this, we're building a wall too.
Yeah.
We're gonna make sure you motherfuckers can't come in. And maybe if we get enough of them there, it would be like a race.
Yeah.
Like you start at one end, we'll start at the other, and whoever builds the most fencing fucking wins.
Oh yeah.
Because like we get enough of them moving down there, Mexico's gonna be like, fucking hell no, man, fuck this. Close the airport. No one's coming
Yeah,
in.
exactly. We got a problem with immigration. They're gonna have like Mexican Trump, you know, and be like,
There's gonna be some fucking Mexican dude with a big mustache with a green hat that says "Make Mexico Gringo-less again" or something.
yeah, exactly. It's time to expel the white man from our lands again, except for the ones that were born here. We're just talking about the ones that came over on boats. There's a difference, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. He'll do it like in a Trump, like a Mexican Trump way, which you know, like talking with the hands and.
Oh, he'll do that, and he'll be shooting like fucking like revolvers off in the air and everything, and it'll be like, yeah, I don't know. It's funny because it seems to be like a lot of Mexican leaders or a lot of leaders in South America. They always really try to lean in hard to the populist persona. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I don't. For the kids out there, there was a time where you would rarely ever see a president of the United States without a suit and tie on. Very rarely. I think the first time you started to see it is maybe like election ads, and you would see like Reagan on a ranch, you know, with the cowboy hat on and stuff like that, and everybody's like, "Oh, holy shit, fucking America, yeah," you know. And but after 9/11, you started to see George W. without a tie, and he would get to he would remember this. He would get to whatever we were speaking, and he would roll up his sleeves. It's one of those things that it's like it's so obvious that they're trying to make something like it's kind of like the most current thing I could imagine. Like if you ever watch well, obviously this isn't a podcast that we're doing, but if you ever see, I've seen it happen in a couple of compilations of young people talking about like race and gender and all this other stuff, and they have a drink or a straw with them, and they'll say something da 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 da. And then it's kind of like they take a drink or a sip out of their drink just to accentuate their point. Yeah. And it's so fucking obnoxious, you know. Well, I don't know. Maybe you need to deal with your privilege and racism. And it's like, you know what? You're doing that to try to make your point sound way more important than it actually is. You know what I mean? It's a fucking stage trick. You know what I mean? There's very few people. It's only two comics that I've ever seen do it well. I don't think they do it anymore. One of them was Ron White.
Yeah.
Because he would kind of punctuate some jokes with the drink and everything, but that kind of went along with his persona. And one of Kathleen Madigan's earlier specials, she was doing that as well. And this is before Ron White had gotten popular. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. I know exactly what special you're talking about.
Mm.
She had like a straw, and she'd be like, like this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah. I think she's hilarious. She's like one of my favorite.
She's one of the most underrated female comics, or most underrated comics, I think, of this generation, to be quite honest with you.
She's a lot like Lewis Black in the fact that, like, he'll skid on something, but he's not being like, oh, I'm better than this and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this frustrates me. I can see this is fucking weird and horseshitty. Let me fucking yell about it because it bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
Or like in her case, let's just talk about like stuff that bothers me, but like some inconsistencies in life that I can make fun of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I always thought was great about it. Those two toured together for years too. I think those guys have been pretty close. Like it's funny you mentioned Lewis Black because that's who she toured with a lot, or he toured with her. I don't know. I like her because the way that she sets up her tags is very similar to not well in the similar style, but not way, I guess, of like the way her tags kind of like just bounce off each other and just start steamrolling until it becomes a whole new punchline. And that's one of the things that Patton Oswalt used to do. He did a bit more in his last special, but it was one of those things where it's like you could see the real like the fucking this really exquisite joke writing and all these tags that come up that where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's changing the image that you have in your mind that you originally think is so funny that it's still changing along with what all these tags, and then it turns into something else entirely, if that makes any sense. But
no, yeah, no, it does.
yeah.
I'm picking up to put it down.
But speaking of comedy, I actually have a show that I'm going to be doing, like a storytelling show next month over at what's it called? Someplace I don't even know. I don't give a shit. I do give a shit. Hold on.
I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, the Loco Comedy presents at Big Beaver Brewing Beaver Tales, a storytelling showcase, which part of me is like, do I? Because the theme that the host Dan Bublitz Jr. he works a lot, I guess, with Jeff Albright, and they have like 5 rooms up there in Loveland, I guess. And from what I hear, and he was like, the theme is going to be like summertime fun. So tell stories about summertime fun. So my story is going to be talking about when I first moved to New York City and that whole experience. I don't know how funny it's going to be, but they want to do a storytelling show. I'm going to tell a story and what it was like to leave home with, with a little bit of money, 2 bags of clothes and a dream, and getting on the midnight train out of Barstow, California, heading into the big city. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And the other people on the show, I might as well give a quick plug for it. Kyle Pogue's going to be on there. I haven't seen that dude in a long time. Billy Joe Gillespie. Let's see. Who is this other person? I couldn't read because the thing was small. Or, hold on. Kimberly Coaster, who I don't know who that is. That's going to be a new comic. Andy Johnson. I've seen that guy working his ass off. And then Sarah Sawchuk, who I think I probably have seen her around a bit. I just can't place a name to a face, but I've seen her name on a lot of flyers and stuff over the past couple of years. So it's not like, it doesn't seem like there's any newbies on this show. So it should be pretty cool. I'm excited about that. Excited to actually have a show again. You know what I mean? So, other than that, I don't know, man. Comedy is kind of interesting because on the fact that for the most of all the people that made fun of, like you talk about how you feel cautious about telling people that you're a fan of Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
I feel kind of weird about telling other comics that I'm a fan of Rogan.
Yeah, what's that? That's so weird.
He's become the Nickelback of the left, I believe. That's like he's everything that the right used to make fun of Oprah for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he's stupid. He's spreading disinformation. He's doing all this other stuff. And then like, oh, well, what about this study that actually proved this? Or maybe, like, oh, that doesn't matter. I'm like, yeah, of course it doesn't. It's kind of like me saying that I'm a theologian expert, even though I've only read clips of the Bible, even though I haven't actually read the whole thing. That's how I put it. Where I'm like, I've actually listened to a lot of these episodes. So when I see a clip about something really negative, there's a good chance I've watched the whole thing and I know the context of it, but a lot of people don't. But,
Oh, my sister gave me that shit. I was talking to her on the phone not too long ago, and a couple of things. One, it's maybe it's just me. I just find this kind of funny in like a really kind of way. So when my dad passed away, that whole experience about getting him back to New York, yada yada yada. Apparently, that put my sister it got my sister to put my nuts in therapy over it, right? And I feel bad for her, but I'm like, that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the one thing that made you do it. That's like literally like on like page 4 of the shit that could probably put me in rehab. I mean, not rehab, but therapy.
Yeah.
That's on like page 4 on how that went. And she's just like, that's like the one thing I just can't get more. And she's been through just as a shitty life. Like she grew up just as shitty as I did, so it's definitely not like she's privileged at all. It's just this weird like that's the thing that fucking made me. I'm like, okay, all right, that's what broke you. Damn, I thought you were better than that.
Well, it's weird. I I was talking with this other comic slash producer slash life coach or career coach, Donna Shannon, who was on my podcast a couple weeks ago. And she was talking about, it's funny how trauma affects this, like the same trauma could affect people differently. You know, like she says her sister, who they're not a lot alike, she hates John Denver, right? Because it reminds her of these fucking vacations they had to spend in the summertime in Texas, driving in that car and the heat and everything, and how much she absolutely hated it. And Donna says, I, however, love John Denver because it reminds me of these family vacations that we used to take every summer back in Texas. So same house, completely different views on the childhood and everything. So I'm like, yeah, people react to trauma in different ways. You know, some people like talking about it on stage and trying to make fun of it, and other people like getting really drunk at stopping that person from talking about it on stage. You know, it's a fucking weird thing. How
okay, sorry. I'm sorry to my sister. She probably might see this. But
no, because hopefully she knows that you're kidding. Because you know, I've heard Jake talk about you. If you're listening to this, Jake's sister, he is talking about you many times. Obviously not enough, otherwise I would know what your name is. But he usually says my sister a lot, and he thinks very highly of you and all your brothers.
Yeah, no, she's great. She's like my. I mean, I don't want to say that. I don't think she's my favorite. That'd be. I mean, she's
your younger brother's like, what the fuck, man? Seriously,
man? No, but like we still get along. I get along with her really, really well. So like, and she's great. She's done amazing shit. But the reason why I brought it up was just because of that. I wasn't trying to derail. We're talking about Rogan and all that, and she's like, well, he does misinformation, and I'm like, come on, man, like you know that ain't true. Get the fuck out of here. Like, ivermectin was misinformation? Was it really? Mm-hmm. Or was it because Pfizer was paying Cena to shut the fuck up about it?
And call it horse dewormer. He was taking horse dewormer. Oh, look, taking this video. Look how sick he looks in there, how jaundiced. I'm like, you put a yellow filter on this fucking video. Anybody who follows him, which is the millions of people on Instagram, saw the original video and then saw what you guys put on CNN. And you're like, that's not the same fucking video, you assholes.
but my favorite one is when he had Sanjay Gupta on his podcast. He talked about it with him.
And that was an earnest conversation, too.
Yeah. He goes, I can afford real medicine, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he's like, he has hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, if he wanted ivermectin, he could get it.
Yeah.
And I don't see him being the kind of guy that would have taken this shit lightly if he got COVID, which he did. But, like, you know, he would want to kick its ass. And that's his competitive spirit. That's what he does. That's how he's built. So for you to think that he wouldn't try ivermectin or do whatever to make it go away, you're wrong. And it worked. And now you guys don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah, well, they just stopped talking about it. Like, he got better in 3 days, and he was training frickin' like 5 days after the initial took hold of him or whatever diagnosis and stuff. So like, he recovered pretty well. And then I don't know, man. Part of me, like, I'll still see videos that pop up on YouTube on my algorithm where it'll be like, I forgot the name of this one doctor in the UK who like he'll go through a lot of studies and stuff like that and talk through about different data and everything. He's really interesting. He got in some trouble, I guess, because the YouTube really doesn't like it, or when their owners tell them, hey, stop, let people talk or spreading disinformation or COVID or vaccine hesitancy or whatever. And the amount of like heart disease and everything that's been popping up with a lot of with some people, not a bunch, but it's definitely some people. And it's just pretty weird because that's when like my brain starts piecing things together, don't necessarily go together. You know what I mean? Like a friend of mine, it was this girl that I dated briefly, but we stayed friends off and on since I was in my 20s. And I wondered how come I hadn't seen anything from her on Facebook recently. And then I see a post that she was tagged in that says, we still miss you. It's been over a year and we still feel the loss. And I was like, she's dead? How the fuck did she die? When did this happen? And apparently she had a heart attack. For what reason? I don't know. She wasn't the healthiest person in the world, but it was fucking weird. So that's what suddenly your brain starts going like creating like the conspiracy freaking room where you're putting all these threads and piecing everything together, and you're like, yeah, I'm about to say something stupid. You know, I could feel it coming. So I don't know, man. It's reconnecting. Hold on. Sorry for the interruption, folks. I'll probably edit this out here in just a moment. Okay, now I see you back again.
Yeah, no, for some reason my internet shit the bed. Like I'm on my 5G, but for some reason my at-home internet took a shit, and I don't know what the fuck happened. But,
who knows? Sometimes shit's got to be reset. Sometimes there's a bunch of kids playing Call of Duty on your block, and they're soaking up all the bandwidth. Well,
we got Verizon. Like because my roommate works for Verizon.
Oh, okay.
So you get like internet. God damn it. The at-home internet they're selling that they're pitching, we have that at the house. That's what we have and it's pretty good. This has just been a weird, odd hiccup. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but it happens. Yeah, there we go. We're back. Well, I'm still on 5G. That's fine though.
Yeah, the picture looks a lot better when you're on 5G than when you were on your whatever your house internet or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that's it's Facebook has surprised me so many times to people where I'm like, I haven't heard from this dude in a while, and then all of a sudden I look it up and I'm like, oh shit, he died like fucking 5 years ago. Fuck. You know what I mean? Or like, like old high school people that I used to know, you find out like, oh shit, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And like, no, how did no one told me? So,
Yeah, I remember feeling that way, that there was this kid that I went to grade school with. We weren't like close friends or anything like that, but he was definitely the kid that got in trouble all the time. And then, once, because growing up in Lucerne Valley, the high school, Lucerne Valley didn't have a high school yet, so we would have to bus to Apple Valley, which was like 20 miles away every day. And at some point, like, he ended up either dropping out or going to, when they did build the Lucerne Valley High School, he wanted to go back. And he was just he wanted to be a mechanic. He was just really into fixing cars and stuff. And unfortunately, that's how he died, is because he was underneath an engine block and it fell on him. Or a car or a jack fell on him or something like that, and it crushed him. And it was just weird because it had happened like 2 years prior to from graduating. And I'm like, what? Whatever happened to that dude? Like, he's dead. I'm like, are you serious? Holy shit, man. So, it's funny. So, by the way, that COVID had nothing to do with the death of Brant Hagee. I don't know if anybody knows that or not, but I should probably let you know right now. That's not what we're saying on YouTube.
Yeah. Not at all.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty much all the quote unquote controversial topics I think that we ever actually had to talk about today. So, just to throw, I'm going to throw out this other bit of news or a plug for something that I have nothing to do with, and I will give you guys the intro. So, you remember Sammy Anzer?
Yeah.
All right, he's doing this. Yeah, he's doing this event. It's called Comedians Cross Up Children's Cancer. And what it is it's basically a fundraising event for St. Jude's Children's Hospital for kids who are suffering with cancer, all different forms. So they're not going to be like, all right, sorry, kid, you have to have a specific type of cancer for it. Like, they're trying to help out. So what they're basically doing is that they're having an event. Here, I'll even read the event description that Sammy wrote for me. This is the worst basketball game you've ever paid to see. You'll see stand-up comedians who have no business on the court playing basketball, with live roasting, play-by-play commentary by Colorado's best comedians. There'll be shootouts for prizes, halftime shows, hijinks, prizes. Did I say prizes? There's going to be prizes there. Food and drink. All proceeds go to benefit St. Jude's Children's Hospital. I'm going to put a link to this event in the liner notes of this, and it's proudly sponsored by the Basketball Social House in Montucky. I don't even know if
nice.
Yeah. So when I saw this, I'm like, I'm going to try to plug this on our shows and stuff and let people know about it. And yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to be. That's on June 4th. So I might actually have that day free. But yeah, other than that, guys, you could also check out the liner notes for the what was it I say? The Beaver Tales Storytime Showcase that I'm going to be on June 2nd. I'll put notes in for that. You can get tickets for that as well. $10 when you buy them ahead of time. It's going to be $15 at the door. It's definitely worth every penny of it. You guys are going to have a great time. And other than that, that's the only things that I had to plug. I'm still working on some merch and T-shirts.